Okay. All right, thank you very much. So moving on to the next, we'll be having goodwill message, as I mentioned earlier, by the Executive Secretary of the Nigerian Society of Chemical Engineers. So, Mr. Tony Egenovo, you have the floor, sir. Thank you for gracing us by attending this event. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Yeah, thank you very much, Farouk, for the brief intro. Thank you, Cynthia, for setting up this program. Thank you also, Mr. Taiwo, for allowing us to use your facility. And then for the speakers, thank you for agreeing to speak to our wonderful students on this occasion. Can you hear me, please?
We very much, sir.
All right, thank you. Okay, so I will just take the goodwill message on behalf of the board and council of the Nigerian Society of Chemical Engineers. It is with great pleasure that I extend my warmest goodwill message to all of you, our great students who are embarking on the Impact Series program within the field of chemical engineering. To me, I will always tell any chemical engineering student that I have had contact with that they are actually blessed because you are studying one of the most versatile courses in the world. Well, to the speakers, I'm not sure you're chemical engineers, so but if you are not, just bear with us. To our great students, your pursuit of knowledge and commitment to making a positive difference in the world through studies actually is truly commendable. And we, the board is actually very happy with the strides and the achievements you have had in just a very short period that you were elected. Now, chemical engineering, as we all know, plays a pivotal role in addressing some of the most pressing global challenges, from environmental sustainability to health care innovations and beyond. You know, your journey through this Impact Series is a testament to your dedication to creating a better future through the transformative power of science and technology. For all of you, as you delve into this program, you need to remember that every discovery, every breakthrough, and every moment of insight has the potential to shape our world for the better. Embrace the challenges and complexities of your chosen field, for it is in overcoming them that you will find great opportunities for impact after graduation. Collaborate, innovate, and always remain curious. Seek solutions that not only advance your knowledge as a person or as an individual, but also one that will enhance the well-being of our planet and its inhabitants. The planet needs your attention, needs my attention now more than ever before. Now, your contributions to the world of chemical engineering hold the promise of a brighter, more sustainable future for all. The Impact Series you are undertaking is not just an educational endeavor, it is a journey towards making a meaningful difference in our world today and after graduation, because we're sure some of you will be graduating very soon. May you be inspired, may you be resilient, and may you find joy in the knowledge that your work is contributing to a more sustainable, healthier, and prosperous future for all. Please listen carefully to the very distinguished and experienced speakers. Do well to tap as much as you can from this edition, this maiden edition of the Impact series. I would like to seize this opportunity to thank the speakers of today's edition of the Impact series, and also to thank our student leaders for making history today by setting up this laudable program. And we're sure that it will stand the test of time. I wish you success and fulfillment in your studies, and most importantly, in your pursuit of a lasting impact after graduation. Again, like I once told you, you are the future of chemical engineering. You are the future of Nigeria. You are the ones that will change the narrative. Your potentials are boundless. With admiration and best wishes, I remain Engineer Anthony Ogenobu, the Executive Secretary, Nigeria Center of Chemical Engineers. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. We really appreciate your goodwill message. Anybody amongst the attendees, you can just react to his goodwill message. You can give us thumbs up, clap, or what have you. So thank you once again, sir. The next item on my agenda here is a welcome remark by the National Students Leader of the NSCHE National Students Body, and that is Comrade Mama Cynthia. Cynthia is also the outgoing student leader for NSCHE Fukui Student Chapter. So Cynthia, it's nice to have you on this call, and thank you for setting the entire Impact series up.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. Please, if you can hear me, can you react? Probably raise your hand or something. Okay, perfect. I don't even know what to say. First of all, I want to especially appreciate every one of us. I was going through the participants. 121 participants in 10 minutes. I don't know if I was expecting that much to know. That's history has been made today, and I'm very glad for all of us. I can see some of the professors, some chapter chairmen are in our midst. I can see the fellows of the Nigerian Society of Chemical Engineers. Thank you very much for coming to join us despite the short notice. This means so much to us. It means so much to me. It means so much to the student leaders, to every one of us that have worked so hard to make sure that this is a success. I'm sure the turn up and the participants that are coming up is more like a motivation. And with this kind of encouragement, I'm sure the next one will be way better. So this is really encouraging, and I'm really glad. And to the speakers, I reached out to several of them, and they just agreed to have this with us, even without hesitation. Both the platform, everything, it's been good, and I'm very grateful. I pray that at the end of this, I'm certain that at the end of this Impact series, just as the name Impact series is going to be impactful. Thank you very much, and yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you once again for that, Cynthia. So as I'm sure we all know, the Impact series is an initiative of the NSCHE National Students Body. The idea behind this Impact series is to be able to provide chemical engineering students with experience to motivate them and showcase success stories of to provide valuable insights, guidance, and practical advice on personal and career development, as well as to equip students with the knowledge and confidence to navigate their journeys from academia to professional world successfully. Now, this is only the first event in the Impact series so far. This is the October Impact series, and the theme for this particular program is After School, What's Next? Excelling as a Chemical Engineer. With us today, we have introduced you to the speakers. I'm sure many of you even joined this because you saw their impressive profiles and you would like to learn a thing or two from their experience, which I am sure they will be happy to provide to you. But before we get into that, we have just a few technical instructions for our participants. So we would be accepting questions from the participants, but before we do that, each speaker will get a turn to be able to just provide us a keynote presentation based on their own experience so far on our program theme. And after each speaker has spoken, he will take one or two questions from the audience, but we have also curated some questions before this session began in the first place. So after each speaker's talk, there will be a panel discussion, which is the main length of this event. In the panel session, all three speakers would get to speak together. We would ask them the questions you have provided us, and we would also get to interact with them and provide even more questions based on the responses they are going to give to us. And after this panel discussion, we can have a closing session where we just round up everything, ensure we are all comfortable with what we have learned, ensure we have gained something from this impact series before we call it a day. So thank you everyone for finding the time to make this call. And I will be rounding off next with the first speaker, engineer Bosun Roy Layinde. But before I call him on, I should call on the National Students Leader to just introduce you to the speaker to let you know more about him and what he has accomplished so far. So Cynthia, you have the floor now. Thank you very much.
Sharing prior to now, I don't know, were you seeing my screen?
Yes,
Yes, I saw your screen.
Okay, so I'm going to be putting up the profile of the speaker just now.
All right, I can also summarize my profile, you know, for the sake of time.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. The floor is yours, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Bosun, and you know, like a couple years ago, I pretty much was in the same shoes as you guys. And of all the speakers, I would assume that I recently graduated relative to other speakers, if I'm correct. So I finished from the University of Lagos actually in 2017. And I finished, you know, with my bachelor's in chemical engineering, and I finished with a CGPA of 4.97, which made me the overall best student in the entire university as a chemical engineer, which was, you know, something we're proud of as a department. And after that, I had the opportunity to do like a lot of different things, right? So the way that I'm going to present, you know, these different things that you can do as a chemical engineer, I would like to divide it into three different facets, right? And this is based on my experience as well as the experiences of, you know, my friends that are, you know, people that are close to me, people that I've mentored, and people that have mentored me, right? So I oftentimes think about this in three ways. Now, this, like I said, these are not the only things you can do, but these are the three things that have been common amongst people that I've been close to. Now, the first one is go straight into, you know, getting a job, right? The second one is acquiring additional skills. And the third one is, you know, going to graduate school. So in terms of getting a job, I've seen a lot of, like, you know, my folks or a lot of people that I'm close to go towards, you know, FMCGs, let's say Procter and Gamble and things like that as chemical engineers. I've seen a lot of people go into oil and gas. I've seen a lot of people actually pivot into more consulting, management consulting role. So we think about KPMGs, Deloitte, because as chemical engineers, we have unique problem-solving skills. Now, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this particular section because I don't think I have the wealth of experience to talk about like a lot of jobs in Nigeria. Now, the second thing that I've seen people go to graduation is actually to acquire additional skills. Now, in this sense, I graduated in a time where the demand for, you know, programming was very high. So skills such as like, if you have unique programming skills, Python and all of those things, they were in high demand. So people were pivoting into software development, people were pivoting into data analysis, people were pivoting into cybersecurity. And those were the things that we were not necessarily taught as students in schools. So those were skills that people acquired outside of school curriculum. So the 2 classes on Coursera, 2 classes did boot camps and stuff. So people spend time to build that wealth of experience in that particular space, and they're doing really, really well right now, right? That's the second part. Now, the last part, which I have a wealth of experience in, is, graduate school. Now, thinking about graduate school, once we finish your program, you're moving towards like getting a master's or getting a PhD, and you're moving towards like North America, say US or Canada, or moving to the UK. Now, in North America, I'm pretty sure, if you're trying to get a master's, that the school fees are expensive, right? Getting a master's in chemical engineering would probably be in the tens of thousands of dollars. But again, if you don't have the information, you would end up like paying ridiculous amount of school fees. Whereas there are opportunities where you can apply for assistantships, such as like teaching assistantships and graduate research assistantships as a master's student, and you end up paying nothing and you get a master's, right? As well as getting a PhD. Now, average time of getting a PhD in chemical engineering takes you about 5 years. And the unique thing about getting a PhD in chemical engineering is that you have these unique skill sets that you can work in different research spaces, very versatile research spaces. You think about moving to oil and gas. You can do research in oil and gas. You can do research in biotechnology. You can do research in molecular simulation. You can do research because my research is in renewable energy. So I'm working with energy storage as well as renewable energy generation, right? So you can do research in different places, right? And that will put you in a very, very unique space, such that once you get your PhD, you would have the opportunity to do really tremendous stuff. But what does it take to get a PhD, right? To get a PhD, you need to apply to schools. And for you to apply to schools, you need to build a profile. And if we're talking about building a profile, you need to meet the criteria of that particular school. So you need to tune your application towards that particular school. Now, there are some exams that you might need to write, such as the GRE, such as the TOEFL and things such as that. And, your statement of purpose has to speak to the school and has to speak well about yourself, right? So you need to review your statement of purpose with different people, because if you write and submit without reviewing, you're not going to get, you need to get feedback pretty much. But these are things that we can talk about in detail, maybe during the question and answer session, or things that, you can reach out to me personally. But just to summarize, for the sake of time, there are 3 things that I think one can do. Again, these are not the only 3 things that I think you can do. Now, you can get a job, high-paying job after school. You can get skills that you couldn't get in school, as well as you can move to get, further your education. And if you have any more questions, I'll be happy to take them now or later during the question and answer session, or reach out to me personally. I'll be excited to chat with you. So, yeah, but thank you. Yeah, Farouk or Cynthia, you can take the stage.
Yes, thank you very much, Engineer Bosun, for the very concise speech. If you have any questions from the audience, please type it in the question and answer section. I can see some questions here, but they're not actually questions. They are just brief chats. So I will just give 2 minutes for anybody with questions to quickly just type something in there for doctoral candidates Bosun. So if you have a question for him, something you'd like to direct to him, we are in this section, we're just going to be accepting 1 question from the audience. So you can just be quick and try to be the first. Okay, we have 1 question here from Bakir Liman. He is asking you, doctoral candidate Bosun, how many years does it take to get a master's and a PhD in chemical engineering?
Yeah, that's a good question. Number 1, the answer is unique to where you're getting a chemical engineering. So like the geography. So in the UK, it takes about a year to get a master's. But in North America, that's the United States and Canada, to get a master's, it takes 18 to 24 months, so 1.5 to 2 years. And to get a PhD again, it takes an average of 5 years, right? Like I said, an average. It can take you 4, it can take you 6. But yeah, that's how long it takes. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Another question here. I know I mentioned I was only going to be taking one question, but Mr. Bosu is very, very concise. I like that about him. So he's leaving room for more with his responses. So for the next question here, someone is asking, how important is your CGPA in applying for graduate studies?
Oh yeah, that's a good question. And again, I really respect that question. I was expecting that. I've gotten a lot of like feedback in the context of, well, it was easy for you because you had 4.97, and so schools will want you. Again, I'm not debating that it's not true. It is. But I've seen a lot of my friends that have GPAs in 2-1 category, like 2-1 category, as well as I've seen 2-2 folks actually get masters with full funding, right? Not even, getting an admission to study for masters or something. It's full funding. Now for PhD, there are tiers to schools, to be fair. There are some schools that, because of the level of, for example, the Stanfords and the Harvards and whatnot, because of the level of candidates that they have, competition-wise, you might not, if you don't have a very strong background, you might not be able to make it in because there's someone with a similar profile like you with better extracurricular activity and all of that. But there are other schools, that would take your profile for PhD program. So what I say to people is, in the United States specifically, there's a school for everyone, right? And you get your PhD and you excel outside. So my CGPA played a role in the kind of school that I wanted, that I'm attending. But outside that, you can always find, schools that would play a role based on your profile. That's it.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. You have like 15 other questions here just for you, but we would address them later on because we have other speakers here as well who have insights to give us. So once again, I would like to call Comrade Cynthia to introduce our next speaker. But first, let me mention his name is Engineer Emmanuel Maduako. So Cynthia, can you quickly just briefly introduce him to the attendees so they get to know him a little better?
Okay, thank you very much, Farouk. So please, just in addition to what Farouk said, we're going to be having a panel section and also a Q&A question section. So please, if you have questions and your questions have not been addressed during the Q&A section, you can also bring them on. Then for all those that sent in their questions through the question bank, I want to assure you that the speakers have your questions and are going to be addressing it during the panel section. So having said that, I'm going to be sharing my screen so I can quickly read the profile of the second speaker.
Cynthia, I think for time, since Bosun has set up the standard, let's just follow that.
All right, so that's right.
All right, good evening, everybody. My name is Engineer Emmanuel Maduako. I won't bore you much with the profile. I'll just continue from where Bosun stopped. So what next after school? So Bosun talked about graduate school, which is the path he followed, and I'm going to take the next one, which is getting a job. So I was lucky. I was among those that just finished and got a job. I joined NNPC in 2007. As a chemical engineer, there are 3 basic places you can actually function if you are getting into work. So you can either be in the operation side of things, you can also be in the engineering, technical service or maintenance parts of the job, or you can transit into commercial. Now, luckily for me, I've been in the 3 of them. In this my 17th year in NNPC, I've worked through the 3 of them, and I'll just take you through my journey with the 3. Now, it's very important as a young engineer, as you're leaving school, if you want to start up, it's very important you start up from a place like operations. Because in school, they told you, I know as chemical engineers, they told you are process people, you are process engineers. And the only way for you to understand the process is actually to be part of the process. So if you start up with operations, you'll be able to understand how things work. Because the definition of a chemical engineer is somebody who transforms raw material into finished product. So we are concerned about the process where raw materials is being transformed into finished products. So the same thing applies in the oil industry. How do we transform from, I work in the gas sector. So for those people who are in the refinery sector, how do you transform from crude oil into the finished product that everybody on the street in Nigeria knows about? So please permit my background. I'm actually in a hotel. I'm out of the country, and I told Cynthia I need to also dash out on time. So I might not finish everything with you people today. I might not stay till the end because I need to pick up one or two things before rushing back to pack my things for early morning trip. So I started off in operations. For those people who are in Warri, I can see some of the students. I know some of you from FUPRI, from PTI. Luckily, I attended both PTI and also I did a postgraduate in FUPRI, though I didn't complete that postgraduate. So I know some of the students there. So I started with operations, and in operations, what do we mostly do? We monitor processes. What are the parameters you monitor in operations? You monitor temperature, you monitor pressure. Those are the two most vital parameters that you monitor in the gas industry. So we're talking about, I know you did fluid dynamics. In fluid dynamics, they told you the parameters that you monitor in a fluid. So for gas, we monitor both pressure and temperature. All right, so those are the two main things that I did during my it was actually a short stint between 2007 and 2009. I was in operations. So from there, I had a manager who took interest in me, and he called me up and said, would you like to move to maintenance? And in my head, I was thinking maintenance. I think maintenance should be for mechanical engineers. So I'm giving you these experiences so that as chemical engineers, you prepare your mind, because a chemical engineer is somebody who can actually function in any aspect of engineering. That's why you do borrowed courses from other departments. You hardly see other departments do borrowed courses from chemical engineering. But you see chemical engineers, we do borrowed courses from several other departments. So it's very important that you don't close your mind that if it is not a department that has to do with just chemical engineering, I cannot function. So I was lucky enough that I had such a mentor who told me he's also a chemical engineer, but he had most of his stay in maintenance. So he took me into maintenance, and in no short time, I became a champion in maintenance. So in my career from 2009 to 2017, I was in maintenance department. Now, in maintenance department, I had to be, because I was a chemical engineer, everything about our pressure vessels, they handed it over to me to do. So that also exposed me in getting some certifications, because as a pressure engineer, as a pressure vessel engineer, I needed to understand how the pressure vessels work. Remember that a chemical engineer was instrumental in the designing of that pressure vessels. So I needed to understand how it works and everything, and how inspections are done on such pressure vessels. So that led me in also getting my API certification. So I'm also an API certified engineer. Inspector, actually, it's called inspector in industry. So after then, a new department was set up in NMPC called cost engineering, and they needed young engineers who are sharp to transit into that. Now, in chemical engineering, I know that during my time in school, we did a course called is it plant technology or something like that, where you have to do costing of plants of your equipment. So I don't know what is called in your various schools, but that's what it was called then. So I saw it as an opportunity for me to also diversify my CV, because everything you are doing also points to you setting up your CV, because in no short time you'll be moving into management. I'm talking about my experience. So I took up that opportunity and I went into costing. For 4 years, I was in cost engineering, where it exposed me into what every other department does, because now anything that needs to be designed in the organization needs to pass through the cost engineer. So I moved from being just a process engineer to a cost engineer. So I needed to know the pricing for goods. I needed to know the vendors I need to contact to get the prices and all that. Now, in business or in life generally, you go into business to make money. Now, the last part I told you that chemical engineers can function is in commercial. Now, just this year, an opportunity came up for they needed chemical engineers in commercial department, and I took up the opportunity in April. So, as chemical engineers, you must have an open mind also to be able to sense opportunity, see an opportunity, and dive into it immediately, because it gives you an edge over your mates who don't take up such opportunities. So immediately the opportunity came up, I signified interest and I was picked. And currently I'm in MPDC. Most of you know it as MPDC, though we've transformed our name to NEPL, that's NNPC Exploration and Production Limited. So currently I'm in charge of our NGLs and LNG sales as a commercial person, as a commercial engineer. So I'm an engineer in commercial part of the business. Now, in the commercial aspect of the business, what do you need to do? Now, you can't have a sound commercial mind, a sound commercial person who doesn't understand what happens in the plant, because the plant produces the products that the commercial man wants to sell to customers. Now, as a customer, because I'm saddled with the NGLs, NGLs is natural gas liquids. Now we have both the LPG, which is your cooking gas, and we also have propane. Now, I won't go much into what those things are, because I'm sure as chemical engineering students, you should be able to just do a little research and know what those things are. But all of us currently, we use our cooking gas. So I'm currently in charge of the sales of the cooking gas in NEPL, virtually in Nigeria. So that's been my journey for the past 16 years in NNPC. As we discuss further during my short time with the panel, Dr. Michael Taiwo, I went through your profile, very rich profile. Not just the student, I'm also with my bio here to gain from your wealth of experience. And Bosu also very brilliant. I know it's something of pride when you hear chemical engineers finishing with a first class, and not just first class, graduating as the best. So I'm so excited to be part of the speakers with you people by my side. It's very important that we set the student on the right trajectory, even as some of them, like Cynthia, is moving into the labor force or into graduate school, whichever one she wants to pick. So thank you very much. So if we have questions, I think with questions, we'll be able to further talk about our profiles better and also guide the students. Though I prepared just a little, just four slides that maybe I'll just put through in case I don't join up with the panel. So you just have some information that you can go back with as students. So I'll just quickly share my screen. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes, I can see your screen.
All right, good. Just 4 slides, so I won't waste time. I'll just talk through them. So the skills I think a chemical engineer should have. As a chemical engineer, you should have the mass knowledge. You should have knowledge of engineering, science, and technology. You should have knowledge of chemistry, including the safe use and disposal of chemicals. You should be able to design. A chemical engineer is also a design engineer. You should have knowledge of physics. You should have analytical thinking skills. You should have science skills, and most importantly, you must be thorough and pay attention to details. You must be able to spot opportunities and dive into it. Some of the softwares that chemical engineers can use, the most popular one of them is the accompanies. The accompanies is a process simulation-based software. It's based on a course that you did in school called fluid mechanics and also thermodynamics. Every chemical engineer is actually supposed to know Excel. So in case you are deficient in Excel skills, you should try to go and improve yourself on Excel. So with Excel, you should be able to do data visualization, data analysis, and calculations. Then chemical engineers also use MATLAB. I know, I think there was a course called separation techniques. I think that's where we use MATLAB then. I don't know if chemical engineering students still use MATLAB. Then Python, most recently Python. And I also did a course on Python. I'm also certified. I'm also Google certified data analyst. So it's very important as a chemical engineer, you are in tune with times and season. The time is changing, so you are not made to say like you shouldn't be the same yesterday, today, and forever. You need to understand what the future holds and prepare yourself for that future. So as a chemical engineer, you need to go and learn either Python or any of the languages currently in vogue. So what does the future hold for chemical engineering? So I stated here that to know what the future holds, you must first understand what your role as a chemical engineer is and what sectors you can function in. One of the sectors is the food processing sector. As chemical engineers, we have a very important role to play there because everybody will eat food. So whether they should bring robots by tomorrow, people will still eat food. So chemical engineer will still function in the food industry. So as a chemical engineer, we need to start thinking of how to improve food processing. We also need to think about how to produce better fertilizers to improve the quality and the quantity of foods, because it's being projected that in the next 10 years, the world might be in huge shortage of food. That's where chemical engineers come in. How do we increase the quantity and the quality of food? Chemical engineers are also saddled with scaling and mass production of drugs. So once chemist discovers a drug, let's say for example the COVID drug, the chemical engineers comes in, create equipment that can scale and mass produce such drugs. People wear clothes, so chemical engineers, one of our job is to construct synthetic fibers that will make the clothes more comfortable and also water resistant. Then we also are looking at more efficient methods of refining petroleum products, because since the world is complaining that the functions of chemical engineers is affecting the solar system, so chemical engineers need to wake up and start thinking about better methods of refining petroleum products with emphasis at reducing the damage being done to the environment. Then also we need to develop solutions to environmental problems like pollution and remediation. So these are just the rules I think for the future chemical engineers who are just leaving school should be looking at. You won't do this without the use of softwares. So you need to also start looking at how to use softwares to solve some of these problems that are facing engineering as a whole, and chemical engineers need to step up their foot. Thank you very much. I think that will just be my short presentation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. There are a number of questions in the Q&A section specifically for you. I should begin with the first one. I think we have time to take 2 questions before we proceed. So one question you have here is from Mohammed Bashar. His question to you, sir, is, can you please explain the relationship between chemical engineering and commerce? How deep can a chemical engineer be involved in the commercial realm?
All right, so a chemical engineer, you are concerned about process and also the product. And what's used is a product if you cannot sell it. So that's why, as a chemical engineer, you should also be versed in commercial, so that you'll be able to sell the product. So, for example, you create a product and you just keep it in your house. How useful would that product be to the world? So, a chemical engineer should also understand how the market works. So, I think that answers this question.
Yes, it does. Further questions here. Okay, I think this may be a little personal, so unless you are willing to answer it. So this person is asking as related to the expectations of a fresh graduate of chemical engineering. So the question here was, how much can you say your salary was when you started your work? And how much do you earn presently, sir?
That's a private question. I will not answer that. Thank you.
All right. Sorry, Linda, but Mr. Emmanuel, Engineer Emmanuel is unwilling to answer your question for that. So if you have any other questions, Linda, you can ask. Thank you very much, sir, for your responses. Okay, let me see. Since we could not answer Linda's question, I would replace with another question from one of the attendees here. So this question is, as a chemical engineer, what in your perception is a roadmap of actively employing potential solutions to some of the problems to be solved? I believe earlier you mentioned how with chemical engineering, there have been a lot of problems created for the environment in the last century. Things with non-renewable energy and other such. So this person is asking as related to that. So what do you think is a potential roadmap fresh graduates could apply to try to solve some of these problems?
I'm sorry. So that question is not clear enough. Is the person talking about the potential roadmap with respect to Nigeria as a country?
Yes, actually, I think the person asked this question twofold. First is general. The second is utilizing a solution within the country as well. So whichever one you prefer to answer.
Okay, so within the country, one of our biggest challenge is actually the issue of gas flaring. And I know there are several solutions that are coming up on how to use the flared gas into usable products. That's one of the main rules the chemical engineers are trying to solve so that we can reduce the CO2 that goes to our atmosphere. That is currently being applied, and also NMDPRA, which is formerly DPR, the regulators that regulates the oil and gas industry. They're also coming up with different regulations that protect both environment and communities from whether it is oil spillage, whether it is gas flaring. So these are issues that bedevils the society currently. So everybody is putting hands on deck to see how to solve such problems, and that's where chemical engineers come in. How serious Nigeria is, I would not be able to say we are fully at it, but we are giving it a shot. We are trying. But the world is actually quite serious. Though for recently we noticed that most of the talks about clean energy, when push comes to shove, we remember that Russia, it was recently revealed that Russia still uses coal. UK is also planning to use coal if the Russia-Ukraine crisis continues and gas supply is threatened to UK, they will still fall back to coal. So I think every country needs to look at what resources they have and how best to use it. So I'm not saying that Nigeria should go back to using coal, but it is also an opportunity for us to still grow. We are still growing. Thank God we are part of the developing nations. So they would not put too much sanctions on us if we try to do that to help our power sector. So I think that should answer that question. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. I believe that adequately answers the question as posed. So thank you once again. Next, we will be moving on to our next speaker, and that is the person of Dr. Michael Taiwo. Dr. Michael Taiwo is the head of hydrogen operations at Shell USA, and I am sure we are all interested in what he has to offer us.
I'm going to use the Boston standard and just quickly introduce myself and then go into my my spiel. My name is Michael Taiwo. I finished chemical engineering from Ife in 2006, and then I came to the US late 2007 to start my PhD in chemical engineering. I focused on mathematical modeling in hydraulic fracturing. So in 2007, when I came, hydraulic fracturing, some people call it fracking, was the rage, and it actually propelled the US from being a net energy importer to being a net energy exporter. Totally revolutionized the oil and gas game. So I was in on it, very, very exciting. And then after that, I finished my PhD. Midway my PhD, decided I didn't want to be a professor. So knew I was going into the industry, and that's what I did. Graduated on Saturday, and the very next week started with Shell, and I've done a few rotations inside the company. I've been an offshore platform, Gulf of Mexico, and then I've moved into the distribution, midstream distribution, and then I was called to lead the renewable energy business for North America, and that's what I do right now. On the side, I try to develop the next generation of leaders. So I do have a charity organization that is focused on that. So that's I'm married. I have 4 kids, ages 5 to 11. So I'm very busy. I feel like that's a full-time job on its own. As I was planning for this meeting, I said, what do you do after school as a chemical engineer? And I said, well, I don't need to look far. Let me just look at my class in Ife. We have a WhatsApp group like most people. So let me just look through the names of everybody and try to see what they're doing now, 17 years after. And so my wife also finished from chemical engineering in Ife. So I asked her to do the same thing and look at our own class in chemical engineering and all of the people that finished what are they doing now. And it's all over the map. So 16, 17 years after chemical engineering, among us, we have nurses, like registered nurses in hospitals. We have medical doctors. We have people who went back and got their law degree, law. We have people who have started secondary schools and primary schools. Now they are school proprietors. We have people who are assistant professors and full tenured professors in different universities. We have people who have gotten their MBA and they are now working in BCG and McKinsey. And then we have, engineers like us. And then in the engineers, I looked at it, there are people who are safety engineers, production engineers, wells engineers, geology, people who are working as geologists and geophysicists. And then maybe we still have people who are in the traditional process engineering, meaning converting raw products into raw materials into finished products. So I think that answers your question about what do you do after chemical engineering. At least and I admit this is not a large database. It's just a database of 2 classes from just one school in Nigeria. looking back 16 to 17 years after. But even though that's not a large database, I think it still tells you something, which is that you literally could do, have whatever that you want to after your chemical engineering degree. It's so versatile that the world really is your playing field. It's almost like you're handed a blank canvas, and then you get to paint your Picasso or Mona Lisa or whatever masterpiece you want to paint on it. It's a blank slate, and everything that the previous speakers have said is absolutely spot on. Now, so I'm not going to go into the specifics because, again, like I said, we have people from law, medicine, all the way to the traditional process engineers and professors. But what are the underlying principles? How do you excel? And the key word that I want to take out of that topic is excelling. How do you excel? Regardless of the field, there are some principles that are universal. And one is that you excel by going the extra mile. Whatever your hand finds to do, do it with all your might. By going the extra mile, you begin to separate yourself from the pack. And it is by separating yourself from the pack that you have the license to do more. Somebody asked a funny question on salary from the previous speaker. That's how you get to make huge salary, by separating yourself from the pack. Go the extra mile. Do you burn the midnight, oil? Don't take the easy way out. Get used to doing hard things. The more you get used to doing difficult things, the easier actually it is for you to do difficult things. And that's not going to change whether you choose to go for your master's or PhD, or you choose to go to the industry, or you want to pivot totally into programming. That's not going to change. You always have to go the extra mile if you want to make more, do more, have more. The second thing I want to say is that you need to commit to lifelong learning. People won't be a lawyer today after getting the bachelor's in chemical engineering if they are not committed to lifelong learning. So commit to lifelong learning. That is one area where the world has become really better. There are so many free courses online, so many open courseware. So you are limited now by your imagination and by your motivation, your drive. But the resources are there now for you to pick up any field of study and become decent at it in a short time. And if you give yourself even more time, become really one of the best at it. So I would say go the extra mile, commit to lifelong learning. And my third advice, again, these are principles that I think work, right? Whether you want to be a doctor, a lawyer, or you want to continue to be a chemical engineer, is attack life with a sense of urgency. Don't have the sense like it can wait till tomorrow, it can wait till next week, I'll get around to it. No, do it now, do it today. Attack life with a sense of urgency. Attacking life with a sense of urgency doesn't mean that you have to rush, always rushing to class, rushing to the market, rushing to job. No, it just means that you want to remove things that slow you down. They are two different things, So when I say you attack life with a sense of urgency, I mean take a hard look at yourself, take a hard look at your calendar, take a hard look at your bank account, take a hard look at your friends, at your social media feed, and say, what are the things that slow me down? And then eliminate them. Because if you have the same force and you have the same mass, you can accelerate more just by reducing friction. You don't need to add more force. You don't need to reduce the mass. If you just reduce the friction, you can move faster. And what I feel is that people have they've cobbled themselves with so much junk, so much distraction, so much unhelpful habits that it limits the way they can move through life, through their career, through their studies. So attack life with a sense of urgency by removing things that inhibit your growth. And I think if you do those three things, you will excel. As a chemical engineer, or as a commercial person, or as a PhD student, or whatever it is you want to do. I will take the questions now.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. I can see, sir, people have a lot of questions for you. Okay, so okay, the first question I am seeing here by Mohammed Bashar, who has also asked another question before. I see Mohammed is really paying attention. So his first question to you, sir, is to what extent are postgraduate studies relevant to working in the field or industry?
So why did I go for my postgraduate? I guess maybe I can answer that question from my own. When I finished chemical engineering in Ife. I had a first class. I had, you know, if you look at my background, there are still some of the prizes I won from Ife that I held in my hands, and I still feel like I knew nothing. I honestly feel like I knew nothing. I feel like I've been ripped off. I feel like I've wasted 6 years of my life. So I said, you know, if I go into the industry right now, I'm going to meet people that actually know something, and then I'm going to feel dumb. I'm just going to feel stupid. So I said I owe it to myself to take an advanced degree, sharpen my intellect, sharpen myself, and then at least, even if I don't know everything in the world, I can say there is one little thing I know, and I know it really, really well, you know, and that's why I went for my grad school. If I stayed in Nigeria, I think I would have gotten a job, a good job, and I think I would have been all right. But the desire to master my craft, the desire to hone my skill, played into my postgraduate studies decision. So can you, again, looking at, there are 3 people in my class that we finished in chemical engineering, and all 3 of us work at Shell. All 3 of us actually made a first class student. One person didn't do any postgraduate studies. One did masters, and I did PhD. Right, you know, the 2 of them are still in Nigeria and with Shell, and they're all doing well. So, with or without postgraduate studies, I think you can go to the industry and you're going to do very well. I wasn't just confident in myself finishing. I felt like an imposter. I was like, you're telling me I'm the best student in. So one of the things I was the best student in was unit operations. Yeah, you're telling me I'm the best student in unit operations, and I can tell you I know nothing in unit operations. Just feel like we're all joking, and I didn't want to joke around with my career. And when I came here, by the way, yes, we were joking. I didn't know anything. It was absolutely the right decision. The very first semester I spent here, I was dazed. I was really dazed. But I picked myself up, and I was all right at the end of the day.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Okay, we have other questions for you here. I think some of the questions here are things we're already looking to ask you in the panel session already, so I can skip some of them. So let me just look for a question here that is not already included in the panel session questions. Someone asks here, for a young undergraduate student looking to transition to oil and gas industry, what is the best route in this competitive age? Is that something you can answer?
So I'll say, since I'm the last speaker, let's just turn it over to the panel session.
Okay, so
I mean, we still have Engineer Emmanuel here before he leaves. You know, if he can chime in too, that would be good. So I'll say is that the next thing on the agenda? Or
yes, the panel discussion is next on the agenda.
okay. Yeah, so if you don't mind, let's just roll into that. That way any speaker can take the question.
All right, so let me just welcome everybody to the panel session. So get them to know the expectations for this session. So in this session, all three guest speakers will get a chance to address your questions. We will be having a conversation with them to get their experiences, their insights, their knowledge, and we will be taking in some questions from the audience. Most of the questions that will be addressed in this panel discussion have already been collected previously by a form sent out across the schools, but we will still leave room for the live questions from the audience towards the end of this panel session. So I would be handing off to Cynthia to get us started with the first question while I present the slides. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Farouk. Good evening, everybody. Thank you very much once again. It's really been an insightful section. I've been going through the chat and I'm very glad with the reviews we've been getting so far. So before I start, I'm going to be dropping a link on the chat box. That's a review link. So please do well to drop your reviews, suggestions, where you want us to improve on, and or drop it on the Google form. We'll address that and we'll get back to you. Also, while the section was ongoing, I dropped the LinkedIn profile of all the speakers on the chat section. I will still send it again for those that missed it. So do also connect with them. I saw questions of people asking, how do I connect with the speakers? Although I know most of the speakers might prefer Twitter or maybe Instagram to LinkedIn, but I dropped their LinkedIn profile. So during the AOB, there's something like that, then they can tell us how best we can connect with them. So please, I would also want us to, if possible, take like 5 minutes break, then start the panel section at exactly 6:11, so that we can just be going through the questions in the chat box while we wait, because I was just informed that our Muslim brethren are having a prayer from 6 o'clock to 6:10. So we could tactically be waiting for them before we commence the panel section. So I don't know if it will be possible for us to be taking the questions in the chat box rather, then commence the panel section at exactly 6:11. By then, they would have been done with their Muslim prayers and joined us. Okay, so having said that, please, Farouk, over to you back. Let's take some questions in the chat section. We'll be starting the panel section at exactly 6:11. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So we have, let me go back to Engineer Person. I can see there are many questions for you here, sir. Having been the first speaker, so a lot of people have been able to include their questions here. Okay, let me see. So somebody is asking, should a 2-2 graduate of chemical engineering bother with a graduate scholarship as well?
I guess we'll answer this in 5 minutes time, right? Is that correct?
You can give an answer for this. I believe there are similar questions to that, but this one is a little specific since it's referencing a particular grade.
Okay, so since 2-2 graduates.
Yeah,
okay.
That's second class lower.
Yeah. So the way that I would frame this sometimes is that, sometimes your GPA is not a true reflection of your knowledge. There are things and circumstances that have caused you to have a 2-2. Now, you can cement that with extra skills, right? Like the way application works is that it's all encompassing. They view your application in a very holistic manner. So they look at what you've done education-wise, but they look at things you've done outside education. They look at letters of recommendation that people write for you. It can be from a professor, it can be from universities, it can be from your job, as well as, they look at your research experience. Like you can be a 2-2 student, but then you have like very good research experience. You've done research, you've probably published a paper. So a 2-2, I would definitely recommend you apply, but then you should know what tier of school you're applying to, right? Because if you say you're applying to, for example, Harvard for a PhD, there are people that would have similar profile with better GPA, and they would admit those people before you. But you can tailor your application towards like maybe tier 2 school and tier 3 school and things such as that. But yeah, it shouldn't stop you. So far, you can cement like your profile with many other great things that you've done. But yeah, that's it.
All right, thank you very much for that response, sir. I believe you emphasized doing other things outside of school as well, and the fact that these schools would be looking at those things you contribute to. So thank you for that. We have a question here for Engineer Emmanuel. An anonymous attendee here is interested in technical sales engineering after graduation, and he would like to know if you have any advice for him.
All right, technical sales. Sorry, I'm not putting on my video. I have some colleagues here that are waiting for me for us to go out. Technical sales engineering.
Yes, sir.
Is that person referring to commercial that I spoke about? If he's referring to just sales of anything, then I'll advise maybe he gets a mentor who is into sales. If he's talking about commercial, I'll advise he starts from process engineering first before delving into commercial. That's my advice from the industry perspective. Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much, sir. So if you are the one who asked the question, Engineer Emmanuel implores you to get a mentor, be more familiar with what you are going into even before you graduate. So I think that's a very nice one, sir. Thank you for that. To Engineer Bosun, someone wants to know, I believe his name is Philip Damilare. He would like to know how feasible renewable energy projects is in Nigeria.
I mean, that's a good question, though. I would think it's very feasible, but there are a lot of things that play a role in terms of like renewable energy, right? We think about the social, the economic, the political context in which you can do all of these things. But in an ideal setting, there are so many renewable energy projects would definitely be possible. Like there's a lot of solar projects in Nigeria, especially in the northern part of Nigeria, right? There are projects such as, I don't know if we have like, or if we can get like wind technologies and stuff, but this takes commitment not only from an individual point of view, it also takes commitment from like from a government point of view as well. So it is possible in an ideal setting for sure, and we can play our role in ensuring like great energy transition, at least if we're shifting from fossil-based fuel technologies towards more, green energies. But yeah, that's going to play a role from like, we have to do, everyone has to do something, right? Individually, holistically, whatever. But yeah, that's it.
Okay, thank you very much, sir, for that response. I believe it's 6:11 now, and we may officially begin the panel discussion. Before we do that, I would like to confirm if everybody can see my screen. Okay, can everybody see my screen?
No, I can see.
Oh, okay. Okay, give me a moment. Can you see it now?
Yes.
All right, thank you. So welcome everyone to the panel discussion. As I mentioned, we have gathered questions from some students across the various schools, and our panel speakers would be answering these questions. So here's how we are going to do it. We would ask one question and direct it to one of the speakers in a rotational manner. So we could start with Engineer Boson and then move to Engineer Emmanuel for the next question. And then the next question would be handled by Dr. Michael Taiwo. But if any of the speakers have anything they would like to share with respect to any particular question, they are welcome to indicate and make their opinions known even before we proceed to their turn. So is that fine, sir, or is there anything you'd like to add further?
I think that's okay. That's good.
All right, thank you. So I would like to begin with the first question, and I am addressing this to Engineer Bosun Roy Lainde. So this first question is from the National Students Leader, Cynthia Mama from Footprint. The question goes thus: do you think that pursuing a master's degree in fields like oil and gas management, oil and gas engineering, oil and gas exploration and production, or similar oil and gas related programs is a wise choice, given the increasing focus on green skills and cleaner energy sources in today's world?
Okay. All right. So I would implore Dr. Tai to take this question, as well as I can take the B part of the question, because when it comes to wealth of experience in oil and gas, I think it would come from a better perspective, so I would take the B part of the question.
All right, so Dr. Michael Taiwo.
Okay, and I'm going to tell you, it's not a personal story, but like it's an inside story in Shell. A few years ago, about 5 years ago, we actually had to call an emergency meeting inside Shell because many people that have skills in exploration, in wells, in geophysics, they're resigning in large amounts. They're joining, not they're resigning from Shell, but some of them are leaving to go and become a banker. Some of them are leaving to other parts. Some of them are leaving to do hydrogen, like myself, or carbon capture and things like that. And Shell was actually afraid that there will not be anybody else left to be able to drill wells and produce oil and gas and explore. And that panic, I use that example because that panic is felt across the industry and even in some universities, to say they're struggling to attract petroleum engineering candidates. I have people through my charity work. I have petroleum engineers come to me and say, hey, even though I did petroleum engineering in my undergrad, I'm afraid I won't have a job because oil and gas is going away. And should I go to data science, or should I go to chemical engineering? And then again, like I've told you before, I'm all for whatever you want to do. Just do it for the right reasons and do it out of a place of knowledge, not out of a place of ignorance. So I'm here to announce to you that in the next 100 years, oil and gas will still be an industry. In the next 100 years, oil and gas will still be the primary energy driver for the world. And don't let marketing and news reports and publications and all of that public relations jazz fool you. The number one source of energy in China today is still coal. The number one source of energy in the US today is still coal. I'm talking coal now, not even saying gas or oil, right? Because coal is even dirtier than those ones. And we're not transitioning away from those. Are we going to have other sources of energy? Yes. Will those other sources of energy maybe account for, would they increase? Yes. But will oil and gas and coal and all of that, would they go away? They're not going to go away. The dominant source of energy hundreds of years ago was biomass, wood, firewood, cow dung and things like that. Billions of people in the world today as we speak. That's still their dominant source of energy. And then, 200 years ago, coal came, and coal has not gone anywhere. Then 150 years ago, oil came, and oil has not gone anywhere. And then we figured out how to capture gas and liquefy it and use it, and gas has come. And then after World War II, nuclear as an energy has come. The world just needs more energy. It's as simple as that. And the more countries like Nigeria develops, Ghana, developing countries, as they move into prosperity, they're going to need more energy. China consumes 40 times more energy they did now than in 1990. That energy has to come from somewhere. Wind and solar will not get us there. So I said all of that to say, yes, let's work towards cleaner sources of energy. But if you think the traditional pillars of our civilization is going anywhere, you're not, you're being fooled. Yeah, and don't be fooled.
Yeah, just a quick one. I also come from the point of view of someone that does greener energy, like I do renewable energy. And I can tell you that what we're trying to do is to increase the penetration of renewable energy in the energy mix and not to take over from, oil and gas. Because for renewable energy right now, we don't have the infrastructure to be like the dominant energy supply. It's not possible. So the conventional oil and gas would still be the mainstream energy for the next tens, even maybe hundreds of years, right? So it's that's why I wanted him to take the question, because he's very experienced, and my little experience is just in renewable energy, specifically solar. But yeah, thanks for answering that very well, Dr. Tao. So for the B part, I'll just briefly summarize. This is my personal story, and the question is, can you tell us briefly the factor that played a role in my success story? And I think this is very applicable to many other things many other people and many other things that you find yourself. Now, the first thing that I deal with, or that I try to do as a person, I try to ensure that I'm very disciplined. Now, when I say discipline, I feel like as a human being, without discipline, you're going to fall for anything, right? You're not going to stand for something. So back in Unilag, I always made sure that, okay, I went for my classes pretty much, but after classes, I try to understand whatever the professor has taught us. Like I take extra time to understand. I don't necessarily procrastinate. I don't do, I'm going to do this tomorrow, I'm going to do this in 2 days. No, I don't do that. If I need to get something done now, I would try my possible best to get it done now. I'm not going to procrastinate. And that's one thing that I've tried to do in every part of my life. Even when I'm doing research right now, when I'm, when I got a job and all those things, I try to do things at the right time. And the second most important thing for me, again, is prioritization. You have to learn to give priority to things that matter when they matter, right? So like if this thing matters to you now, you have to prioritize it, right? It doesn't even matter. For example, if exam is coming and Unilag is a very distracting school, I'm going to tell you that. But if exam is coming and for Davido is coming tomorrow, everyone is like jumping, oh, this is one time to see Davido, or this, but I have something to do. It doesn't matter what that fun looking stuff is happening. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to prioritize that, okay, this is what I have to do and this is what I'm going to do. Now, let's assume that it's just semester just started and classes are not really hard. I can go for that fun thing, right? Because at that point in time, I can prioritize other things and still make up for it. But you have to learn to prioritize in life. Learn to prioritize work, learn to prioritize family, learn to prioritize things that are very important to you. And for the sake of time, those are the two things that I've applied to myself, and they've worked in not even one, every aspect of my life. And I think if you can be disciplined and learn how to prioritize, I think they'll play a huge role in your life as well. So, yeah.
All right. So let me also take that B part. What factor played a key role in my success journey? In addition to making things a priority, like Bosun said, at this point where you're leaving school, you're still very confident. You can face anybody, you can face any panel and speak to what you know. So, and at this point, it's easy for you to make mistake and is overlooked. So be very confident. Don't get scared. Get into any, maybe you're applying for a job or you're applying for postgraduate studies, and you need to meet with some panel. Maybe you want to get scholarship. Just go there with all the confidence that you have coming from school. Speak to them about what you know. Those things that you don't know, don't assume that you are far off other people. Your mates who are also leaving school at the same time like you, they are also in such a dilemma. They're also confused as to what the world holds for them. So everybody's just coming in with their confidence, and then you see that you would fly higher than others. I remember when I just finished, I was teaching when this NMPC opportunity came. When I faced the panel, virtually everything they asked me was based on what I was doing at that time, not my knowledge of oil and gas. Moreover, in 2007, I virtually knew nothing about the industry. I had nobody in NMPC, so I virtually knew nothing about NMPC. But the focus was on what I knew, that I was doing. So when you get out of school, please find something to do. Even though it's teaching, get busy at it. Make sure that whatsoever your hand findeth to do, you do it with all your heart. Because by the time you'll be facing the panel, they'll be asking you based on what you are doing. So that's just my little take. So in 5-10 years, that's when they'll now be asking you, okay, based on experiences that they expect that you should have known in those years. But now you're just fresh out of school, go out into the world and fly high. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you very much, sir. That was, I don't know how to react because that's my question, but thank you very much. So we'll be moving to the second question for today. Farouk, please, can you help me? All right. So this is coming from Ayo Deji from University of Lagos. What are the indelible soft skills, hard skills, and softwares to learn as a chemical engineering student that will make one relevant for the next 15 years in this field? Secondly, what sector and aspect of chemical engineering can one later major in, and what factors should be considered before making such decision? I need pros and cons of each of the popular sectors of chemical engineering. Just to employ all the participants, as the panelists are taking the questions, please get your pen and paper, write down. I think there's a saying that I can't remember the saying, Sha, but they're saying that whether the faintest pen or something, I don't know. But please get your pen and paper and write down, and so you can always consult it later. Thank you.
Just a quick one. I feel like the software part has been handled by Engineer Emmanuel, so that's outside of that. Soft skill, I think as a person, things that have played a role for me, just real quick, is communication. Like it's like very important, right? Being very succinct or being very like straight to the point without sounding overly wordy, or like you communicate clearly, and then you communicate with confidence, and that's something that's played a role in my life, right? Like when I talk, I just talk to you with confidence and I talk clearly, and that's a useful skill that you need as a chemical engineer. I can chime in some more, but I would like other people to take this question, and then if I can take it as well later. But yeah.
All right, so I'm sure Dr. Tai will want to go, but let me just add, you need to be able to write clearly also, in addition to talking, because sometimes you might not have the opportunity to speak to people, but your proposals will get to them. So ensure that in your proposals you are as clear as possible. Don't delve into what you don't know. Speak to what you know and make it as clear as possible. Let everybody know how you start and where you are heading to, and they see your conclusions and they see your prayers at the end. What do you want the panels to do about what you've written? That's what's called prayer in the industry. in every industry at the end, because most of the people you'll be talking to are actually people who don't have the whole of the time. So they want to see, okay, what's this person talking about? And they go to your prayer to see what you want them to do. So be very clear as possible in your writing. The same way Bosun said, you should be clear in your speaking. So in case they invite you to now address them, you now speak clearly. Thank you.
Nothing to add. I think both speakers nailed it.
Thank you very much, our able speakers. Moving on to the third question here. This is my own question. So the question here is, given the impact of tech in today's world, what tech skills can students acquire to better position themselves for the evolving chemical engineering world? And most importantly, how have you seen those skills applied based on your experience so far?
Very good question. I'll take this real quick. So the way that we see research, now, again, I'll talk about this from my own world, right? So, but we see research in two different facets. You can see research from the experimental point of view. We can see research from the computational point of view. Now, in the computational world, there's a lot of emphasis right now on data analytics, like drawing insights from heavy data, making predictive analysis that can help in the formation of new chemicals, new compounds, new devices. And so there's a lot of like tech is playing a lot of role in this space, right? And personally, I have a lot of friends that got PhD in chemical engineering, but they work for Amazon, Intel, like all those places now, like Microsoft, Apple, and things like that. And what they did was they used, chemical engineering, molecular simulation, all those heavy machine learning and artificial intelligence for chemical engineering, but now they're applying it to products, right? So it's like they have the skill. The question is, what are you applying the skill for? So if you know how to do these things now, you can apply it to chemical engineering principles or things that are outside of chemical engineering principles, depending on your preference. Now, I do a lot of experimental stuff, but I know MATLAB, Python, and stuff, because for me to ensure the success of my experiment, I have to run simulation. And I do that, using like MATLAB, using Python to see what the efficiencies, performances are going to look like before I actually spend tens of thousands of dollars to make the product. So those are the things, the importance of having like, programming knowledge and whatnot. And that's my experience. But yeah.
Okay, thank you very much for that. I believe Engineer Emmanuel mentioned something about Python during his presentation as well. I don't know if he is interested in contributing to this question as well.
Yeah, okay. Like Boswa said, it's very important we learn one of the programming languages, and one of the most important currently is Python, either Python or R. You can learn any of them. Both of them are similar, so you can do either Python or R. I've done Python. I paid heavily for that. For R, I did R with Coursera. So as people just coming out of school, Coursera has some free courses, and there's a Google Data Analytics certification. So it's very important that as you're doing that, you're focusing more on the certifications that are recognized worldwide. It gives you an edge when you're applying for jobs. You put in your chemical engineering degree, and you also tell them you are Google certified in data analytics. It already gives you an edge that just probably 1% of people applying for similar positions are having. So it's important that you do that. So just lay your hands on Coursera, just go online, check, and you see some free courses that you can run.
Yeah, we can jump to the next question.
Okay, thank you very much. Moving on to the next question now. Let's see, question 4. Okay, So this question, my question is coming from a of dilemma and fear of the unknown. I just finished my last exam a few days ago and I'm feeling lost about what comes next. I'm not sure about what course to major in, which school to choose, or even whether I want to stay in the country. Is this okay? And how do I figure out what to do next after graduation?
Okay, I can take a stab at that. Let me start by saying fear is it's normal when you get to a transition in your life, and you're going to encounter so many transitions. This is one of them. This is not going to be a last transition, so it's normal. What I've done to help me when I'm trying to make a transition and there are so many choices and then fears and things like that is I try to project into the future, and I tell myself, 10 years from now, what will I regret doing or not doing? 10 years from now, how do I want where do I want to be? And then from that, I work backwards. So when I finished, I told you that I felt like I didn't know anything. So I want to know something. I want to master my craft. So 10 years from now, I saw myself, when I finished, I saw myself, having a job, maybe in an oil and gas company or in a good company, and I'm making good money, and I'm already married with kids. But then all my friends, they are now doctor this and doctor that, and they've gone for their masters. And then they're like, see, that guy even made the first class, but we now know way more than him. And then they come back to the country and they are my managers and they are my boss's boss. And I'm like, oh, I had a chance to sharpen my skills, but I did not because they gave me this job offer and it has so many zeros after it and I fell for it, So that clarified my own decision then. And I think when you're in a transitional period in your life, what makes it really difficult is you're trying to ask yourself, who am I? And I think once you can answer that question of who you are, then what you need to do become clearer. So unfortunately, I can't give you anything more than that and my own personal experience, and to tell you to go and look at yourself in the mirror and just have a good conversation with yourself.
Yes. Also a very quick one. A lot of people that I know that have felt like this, they use the NYSC period as a time to reflect, right? And that's the period where they find themselves, they know themselves outside of, the school hustles and bustles and whatever. So during the NYSC period, they probably get a job and see what they like and try to see, okay, I think I need to get a master's, or I think this job is great, I want to continue, or I think I need to get this skill. So again, to this person, don't feel left out. It's normal a lot of times to feel this way during transition. And also during this NYSC period, take some time to reflect and do some work. And hopefully, and I pray that you find like a lasting solution. But yeah.
Okay, thank you, sir. Moving on to the next question now. Let me see. So this question is from Muawiyah Nura Kira from Abu Zaria. Could you share some insights into the latest trends and innovations in the field of chemical engineering and how they are shaping the industry's future? Most especially, how can one embrace them?
I'll give some pointers here. I want to say this is a great question actually for NSCHE. Whether as a national body or in your student body, I will encourage you to subscribe to magazines like eiche.org or CEP, the Chemical Engineering Progress. And then you that just answers this question that way, because if you subscribe to magazines and then of course make them available to your members to read, you would see what is going on in the world and you'll be able to look at the trends yourself. So that would be my contribution to this answer.
Thank you, sir. Does any other speaker have any insights to add to this question before we move on to the next? Okay, then I think we are safe to move to the next question. Also from the same person, question 6. So as the field of chemical engineering evolves, how do you stay updated and continue to develop yourself professionally? Do you recommend any specific resources or learning opportunities for aspiring engineers?
I can take a stab at this real quick. And in this part of the world, again, there are a lot of ways to stay updated. And for example, you can read papers, attend conferences, listen to talks, symposiums, and things outside your field. And they would give you insight into what are the interesting things happening. Also, we have association of we call it AICHE. I think it's like the NSCHE version, like for Nigeria. So AICHE, when we go for conferences and stuff like that, there we see like the great work other people are doing. And I believe in Nigeria as well, there are like conferences, maybe SP, NSCHE, things like that too, where you can see, really good opportunities. And then as a person, you have to go out of your way, right? Like do a bit of Google search just to see like some things that people are doing, as well as read research papers and things like that. So those are the best way that I think you can stay updated. And if you need to be way more updated, you can go extra miles for sure. But I think that's enough, and that's enough way to stay updated in chemical engineering.
Okay, thank you very much for your response to that. On to the next question from Abdurrahman Habib Olamilekon from the University of Illinois. So Abdurrahman asks, I work as a software engineer for companies abroad, presently Californian. I wonder if there are graduate courses that specifically target software in the chemical engineering field. I wonder what the future looks like for someone like me. I have questions on if it's possible to secure a fully funded scholarship from graduate school and still have the ability to continue my remote work. Are there specific visas that support this? It's a difficult decision to make because of the years of experience I would end up losing if I choose graduate school over the work, and the opportunities I would miss if I choose to continue my software engineering career, or a waste of Bachelor of Engineering certificates. I think this is a very long question, and we can break it into parts for.
No, I also think it's too specific. In the interest of
Yes.
time, maybe we ask questions that more people will identify with.
I agree.
Yeah.
Okay, we have Nasir Abdullahi from Bayero University, Kano. I want to be a world-class plant design engineer after my undergraduate study. What would help us to get connected with some design bodies and engineers around the globe?
Is engineering yeah.
Yes, I'm here. So just to answer this directly, just become a member of your professional bodies, NSCHE, NSC, Korean. That's just the easiest way to connect with fellow engineers. We have platforms where you can relate with them. So just become members of those bodies. And luckily, you have student chapters, just as you're a member of, I believe this is NSCHE National Students Chapter that is organizing this. Cynthia, am I correct?
Yes, sir. You're correct.
All right. So it's good as you are living from here, you become a member of NSCHE. They have what is called graduate members. So you can become a member there, and then you'll be meeting with people who are corporate members who work in the industries, and you can get to ask any of this question. You can get to offer yourself as interns in maybe some of their organizations, so that you can get your work experience. So that's just that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Dr. Michael Taiwo, do you have anything to include to this, or should we move on to the next question? Okay, I would assume he has done for this, but for the next.
Sorry, I just saw that I'm on mute. I think we should move on to. I think the engineer Emmanuel nailed it.
I do not think this is a question for any of our speakers. So, Adigosumishe from Lautech, I think you would need a better phrasing for this question. Like, should I help you phrase it a little?
No, sorry. I think among the speakers, I'm the only one in Nigeria, Abi.
Okay, sir.
Dr. Michael is in the US, but so is UK. All right. So I'm actually surviving in this country, and I have no plans to jump out of Nigeria. So, and I'm not doing anything illegal. So you can actually survive without doing something illegal. So just throw away illegal from your mind. When you throw it away, you begin to attract legal opportunities around you. But when you keep thinking about illegal or the Yahoo menace, then that's what you keep seeing. So just throw it out of your mind, and you begin to attract what you think about.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. I believe even as the question is phrased, you were able to provide a very solid response. So for the next question from Teresa Ojile from Abu Zaria, this question says, what opportunities can I earn, I believe as a student, that will be beneficial for my future? Engineer Bosun, do you think you can address this question?
Yeah, I mean, the question is specific for Teresa's future. Okay, so thinking about opportunities as a chemical engineer, if you want to be a chemical engineer, if you want to be something outside of chemical engineering, because like Dr. Tawo said, you can get a chemical engineering degree and then do many things outside. Now, one thing that I always like to say is that even if you don't use the coursework, like all of the transport phenomena, thermodynamics and whatnot that we've learned, I think chemical engineering has sharpened us and we've learned problem-solving skills as well as analytic skills, and that's something that you can apply to every facet of your life. And you can take that skill and apply it to, like I said, some jobs like management consulting, or even move to banking and finance or something. But in terms of opportunity, wherever you find yourself, just try to do more search on things that people that are better in that space have done, as well as try to get mentors, right? If you're interested in being a consultant, for example, reach out to people that are in that space that have gone through what you've gone through, because most times what you're about to go through is not unique to you. People have done it. People have made mistakes, and you can learn from it. So the first step is like try to find those people, try to get a mentor, as well as try to tailor your approach towards some of the things that they've done, so you can learn from the mistakes that they've made, right? But in terms of like what is good for Teresa's future, I really cannot say. But in general, these are things that you can apply as a person. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. I think I would have a follow-up / addition to that question, and that would be the about the other things you can do besides your opportunities as a student. So talking about with respect to volunteering activities, as well as contributing to communities and projects that relates to things like sustainable development goals. So do you have any experience as regards volunteering or community service as a student that you think applied to your current status?
Yeah. So I had a lot of, not a lot. I had a couple of volunteering experiences back in school from like NGOs, like that I volunteered for. But as a person, I did a lot of programs outside of school. Like I took free classes. I was a part of academic research team. Like I did a lot of things outside my space. You know, as a person to become better, as well as to build a profile for myself. Because when people want to know about you, they want to see what you've done in different parts. They don't just want to see your academics, right? You have a 4.9 GP. If you're looking at the profile, you have a 4.9 GP, and that's all you've done. And someone has a 4.4 GP, but it was a president of this. He has led this organization into developing this. He has, he's like the leader of soccer team, this and that. That is a more holistic profile than someone that's just focused on one thing. So in terms of volunteering experiences, it depends on your location. Look for places that you can volunteer, look for events that you can do, look for places you can intern, and try to build a profile. Like just try to be a very holistic person, be an all-round person. And I think that would will position you in a better place.
I'm looking at the time, Farouk. This is in Nigeria, this will be 6:48.
Yes, sir.
So if I compare it with the agenda, I think we're past time. So I don't know if you want to take one
Yes, sir.
more or wrap this up.
Yes, I think we're just going to take two further questions and end at question 12 before we close this. All right, so the next question here from Idris Aminu Idris from Abubakar Tafawa Balewa University. What innovative approaches or advancements do you believe are crucial for the future of chemical engineering in addressing sustainability challenges and minimizing environmental impacts?
So number one, I would say you be the best student you can be. You be the best version of yourself, and then you can play in all of this. The answer of the future is going to be an energy mix. So we have to do we have to get a whole lot of things right to limit the warming potential of this Earth. We have to get oil and gas right. We have to get solar, carbon capture, hydrogen, wind, geothermal, hydroelectric. We have to just get a whole lot of things right. But one of the things we can do, actually what has helped the most in the last few decades, and which can still help more, is energy conservation, meaning building better machines that waste less energy. So building better buildings. And this is where, it's not just a chemical engineering problem, it's a societal problem. Buildings consume a lot of energy, but the newer buildings that are being built today, they use less energy. The same thing to vehicles, the same thing to air conditioners and fridges and all your electrical appliances. So the energy transition is a complex problem, but I would say the biggest impact we can make will be around conservation. If we consume less, if our homes, our appliances consume less, then less energy is needed, and then less emissions would be generated. But from your own career standpoint, I would say worry less about the trajectory the energy transition is going, and worry more about yourself. You be the best version of yourself that you can be, and you'll be all right.
Okay, Farouk, please permit me to add something. I quickly went through the questions, and in summary, I think there are just two aspects of the questions that have not been answered. So I think one of them is with respect to MBA. Some students want to know if it's a wise decision for someone to get an MBA as a chemical engineer. Then I think another aspect was with respect to how to be a compelling candidate for graduate studies. I think let me help the person to add, especially if you didn't finish with a first class, what do you have to do to be a compelling candidate for a graduate study? I believe that is more like the summary of most of the questions we'll have. But the more specific ones, I'm going to be sending it to your DMs later. Then if I get the answers, I will send it to the email address of the people that asked the questions. So I don't know if that would work.
Yeah, that's helpful because we don't want to leave any big themes hanging, and again we're running out of time. Yeah, does anyone want to take the questions?
Okay, yes, so I'll take the MBA question. So if it's good to run it, yes, I'll say yes. MBA is just a Master's in Business Administration. So as engineers, it's also important that we understand how a business is run. So if you're doing an MBA, they are going to teach you how businesses are supposed to be run. So that you don't just focus only on plans, on design, and then you don't know how to run a profitable business. So it's very important that you do that. Then also, most organizations in Nigeria also accept MBA as a means of being promoted in the office. My organization, your first degree will take you to anywhere, but MBA is also an added advantage because there might be several people that has the same first degree like you, so you need an edge, so you can do that. Then also don't just be concerned about just your school certificates. Try to get certifications in other things outside school. Lay hands on other things you can learn and get to do hands-on training, not just be focused on just school certificates, so that you can be functional out there without because the truth is, once they employ you with your certificates, they will want to know what you can now do with your hands-on and your brain once you've been employed. So it's very important that you get busy learning hands-on traits. I think that'll be that. I'm sure Dr. Michael will have some more to add.
No, but I think you nailed it, and MBA is good. The second aspect of that general question is on, without a first class, how can you distinguish yourself? I actually think Boso answered that question very well, because it's true. I've also seen people with a 2-1 and people with a 2-2 get fully funded admission. And what I tell people is that the most important decision you can make for your graduate school studies is your choice of school. Because your GPA is your GPA. Unless you're listening to us right now and you're in your first year or your second year, there's still a lot you can do to improve your GPA. But if you're already in your final year, or like somebody asked, they just finished a few days ago, your GPA is already set. You can't go back and change that anymore. But you can pick schools that will still look at your profile and say, I'm willing to bet on this candidate. So I would say try to, if you know you already have a 2-1 and a 2-2, and then you still want to apply to Stanford, that's probably a stretch, right? But there are 4,000 universities and colleges in the US alone. So you just need to pick the right one that will be willing to put money on you. And I say this all the time, any of those schools, they're better than your IFE and your UI and your UNILAG. They are 10 times better than them, any of them. Yeah, I'm sorry to be so blunt. So don't think, if it's not a school you've not heard of before, it's not a good school. There is a minimum standard here for a school to be accredited, and any school that made that minimum standard is good enough to turn you into a world changer. So So that's what I would do if you know I were 2-1 or a 2-2, or I feel like my application is overall weak. I will pick a school that I think I'll be competitive at.
All right, thank you very much, sir. Farouk, I don't know, with your permission, I would like to. I noticed there are lots of persons are calling out on the chat section that their questions were not answered. I don't know if we can just take two persons that can raise their hand and ask questions, then they can. Please make
I
sure
don't
that
want
your
us to go
question.
before I have a really hard stop at 7 o'clock. So when I was looking at this agenda, it said by 6:36 we should be having the prayer. So by 3 minutes, I will have to log off.
Okay. So please, if you have just two questions or one question, you can just raise up your hand quickly. If your question have not been addressed and it's something totally different, just raise your hand and the moderator will call on you to ask your question. Okay, while we wait on that, I think the next thing on the agenda is okay. Abdul Kadir, you can go on and ask your question. Please be very fast.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah. Okay, my question here is that I first graduated with National Diploma in Polytechnic, and I'm currently in 200 level in the university. So I want to know my diploma result, is it effective? Like, is it important? Is it that important in my CV or not? Like, is it just that the degree that is helpful, or that one too has more opportunities for me?
All right, so let me just answer that straight. It has good opportunity for you. Companies, there are certain companies like Total, I think even Chevron also takes people with ND. So there are companies that take people with ND, chemical engineering. So you can start off from there and still continue with your school. So it's very important for you. So don't throw it away. Put it in your CV. Don't hide it. Let people know that you started from a polytechnic and now you're in the university.
It's all part of your story. Plus, you don't want to have a gap in your CV that now you have to explain why do you have that gap. So
Okay. So please, I don't think we'll be taking any more questions. If you have questions, you can drop it in the suggestion of the review link to get to the speakers, and the answers will be sent. So please, I would like to call on Abdullahi Mayon to please take the closing remark. Then after the closing remark and announcements, then after that I'll be giving a final announcement before we call it a day. Mayon, if you're saying something, you have to unmute first. We can't hear you.
Hello, everyone. I don't know if you can hear me now.
Yeah, we can. Go on.
Okay, good evening, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you are. It was very insightful and interesting, actually. The choice of panelists and everything, it was so mind-boggling, actually. I was given the simpler job of just appreciating our speakers. Because of time constraint, I wanted to say one or two things, but I will leave that for now. I mean, one thing I would simply want to point out is the fact that all the speakers were pointing out, in order to excel, you must be disciplined, and it has shown, it has manifested in their action. I mean, they were more conscious of time than even us, the organizer. I mean, that simply speaks volume. So I want to, at this juncture, thank our speakers for their effort and time, sacrificing their time to come here and share their experience and knowledge with us. We thank you so much, Engineer Emmanuel, Madiko, Mr. Bosun, and Dr. Michael Taiwo. Thank you so much. We really appreciate. And also, I also want to thank the team behind this Impact series, who have done a great job. Thank you so much. Thank you for the effort. I also want to appreciate our fellows and other members of the parent body who found it important to be part of this beautiful Maiden Impact Series program initiated by the National Student Body. We also want to appreciate you, not forgetting our able ES Executive Secretary in person of Engineer Tony for his continuous support and effort. We also thank you so much. I also want to thank the audience. Without you, this would not have been a success. It's only a success because you're part of the program. So also appreciate you and appreciate everyone and our able moderator, Mr. Farouk. Thank you so much. I want to thank everyone. And I also want to, at the same time, inform us that we have our median virtual student convention coming up. It's been years after the ban was lifted on the student national body. Felt it was necessary for us to at least give the students something, tell them that something is coming up, something very important. So we'll be having our virtual student convention coming up on 30th and 31st. It's going to be a 2 days program. We also have very important and a very good list of speakers that will be sharing their wealth of knowledge and also experience with us. So I want to encourage us to be part of it. And apart from that, there are other programs that will be part of the student convention. We also have this video contents that will be going on days leading to the student convention, where every school, every student will be allowed to make a video telling us your experience as a chemical engineering student, and more importantly, telling us what you've learned from the Impact series and how it has impacted on you. And a lot of other stuff actually is open-ended, very flexible. Say your mind, and the contest will go on. Winners of the contest will win certificate of reconnection, and a lot more. So that's that for the student convention. Once again, thank you so much, the speakers and everyone, for being part of this call. Thank you so much. Thank you, my leader. So I'll hand it over to you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mayon. Thank you very much. That was a great one. So please, in addition to what Mayon said, I want to especially thank all of us. I mean, it's been over 2 hours we've been on this call trying to rub minds together and learn from the world of experience of our speakers. So I want to especially thank all of you. Then with respect to the questions that have not been attended to, so please use the link for the review. Drop your use the link that was sent out for the review, and drop your review, your suggestions, and probably your questions. I will get the email addresses from that particular link. That will be the email address. I'll forward the answers to all the questions. So if you've not dropped your review, that means we don't have your email address. You might have to consider doing that, so can compile all the questions and the slides from today's program and forward to the email addresses. Then with respect to the Zoom recording, I saw some persons asking about whether they can get the recording for the section. So if it's going to be available, it will be sent to your email if you register for the program. So if the link to it probably will be uploaded on YouTube, and the link will be sent to your email if you register. So if you've not done proper registration, so please do that so we can have your email address and forward that across. Then also to remind us that the International Conference, NSH International Conference, and National Annual General Meeting is going to be happening from the 2nd to 4th of November in Warri, Delta State. It's usually 1 year. It's usually an annual program, and is rotated across the 6 geopolitical zone. So this year's one is going to be in Warri. Farouk, please help me to put on this thing on the screen, the flyer for the event on the screen. So if you've not seen that and you've not registered, please do well to do your registration. Again, we're expecting over 400 practicing engineers for the conference, and that it's usually 2 to 3 days program. It's usually there are lots of things to learn. You have to network. A lot of things are going to be going on that day. So do well to avail yourself during the conference. The registration fee for students is just 10,000 naira. Now that 10,000 naira covers for both your accommodation for the 3 days, your feeding, the packages. I know they usually give school bags and other things, all are embedded inside the 10,000. So it's almost as if you're getting it for free. So do well to register. Please drop the link for the registration on the group. Then if you've not followed the national body on our different platforms, do well to do that. If you subscribe to the magazine as suggested, Go and subscribe to the magazine as suggested by one of the speakers, the CEP and ASCH magazines. We're going to be dropping the updates on probably any of our social media platforms. So please do well to follow us on the social media platforms. Having said all that, I think that's all I have to say. I'll have to hand over to the moderator to probably continue and take us into closing prayer. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody, for being part of this. I still remain Cynthia Mama, the National Student Leader for the Nigerian Society of Chemical Engineers. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for attending this edition of the Impact series. We will let you know when the next one is scheduled to hold. Before we leave, as we started the program with an opening prayer from a Christian, we would like to conclude this with an opening prayer and with a closing prayer from a Muslim. So if you are a Muslim here and you would like to talk, kindly raise your hand. I can see Fatima Garba Yusuf. Okay, I can see Umar Mohammed. So Umar Mohammed, kindly lead us with the closing prayer. Hello, Umar. Your mic is on.
Hello. Hello. Are you?
Yes, we can now.
Okay. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Maliki yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdinas siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladzina an'amta alaihim ghayril maghdubi alaihim. Amin. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد وعلى ال محمد كما صليت وباركت على ابراهيم وعلى ال ابراهيم في العالمين انك حميد مجيد سبحان ربك رب العزه عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. We are done.
Right here.